Here we are.
We haven't had hair and makeup. Well, you don't need hair.
I definitely don't need hair. You might need a little comb for your moustache.
Oh, yeah.
That's about it.
I'm with a dear friend, Mitch, and we're going to talk about books, or writing, should I say. Mitch has recently, at the end of last year, have we got that in the light, Vicky?
Perfect.
It's a wonderful book. I am quoted on the cover. Mitch and I are old friends. And I say this is really the best and most amusing account of working in the whiskey trade in the recent decades I've ever read. That's what I say on the cover.
Which is very kind of you to write that and let me put it on the front cover as well, Charlie. I appreciate it.
I love it.
I know, right?
It's got a very, as you can see, it's got a very rude title. But no, it's a hilarious book. Now, where can the viewers? Where can they get it?
Well,
Amazon?
Yeah, it was self-published, so it's on Amazon, very easy to pick up.
Yeah.
But it was funny with the title, though, because that was a working title for ages. I don't know how you do titles, but I was just like, I'll just call it that. And then people said, actually, that's a cool title, we should just leave it.
Yeah, well,
but then I had to speak to the guys at Glencairn to see if they weren't going to sue me for it. And luckily, Raymond was okay with it.
Of course, it would be, yeah. How did you find it?
Writing.
Because it took, did you tell me it took about 2.5 years?
I mean, I'm nowhere near you, Charlie, so I'm not an author. I suppose I am, I can say it now, but this is my first time doing it. I loved it, though. It was very therapeutic. I didn't force myself into writing the book. I don't know how you do it, but I'm always like, I have to be in the mood to do it. I didn't have any deadlines. I didn't set myself any deadlines, so I just kind of sat in my little spot in Speyside and just wrote it when the mood took me, you know.
That's interesting, you know. Years gone by. I mean, I've been writing books since 1980, and I used to be a sort of night owl, and I would do my best late on. Now I start early. I'm at my desk certainly by 8 o'clock, and then I have to have a sort of warm up. And if I'm writing something. So I'll read, or I'll do my emails, obviously, and then if I'm writing something, I'll start sort of late morning. You know, any time after 10 o'clock. And
how do you structure it, though? Do you, like, for me, I wrote all the contents first and then based it on that, and that obviously changed a little bit. Do you do the same thing, or?
Sort of. It depends on the book, to be honest, or the article, or whatever. Sometimes I just start with. I've got an idea, and then I just develop it. On the book side of things, I mean, I'm a rather boring writer, and it's non-fiction. You know, it's not imaginative, and so it requires a lot of research. And I'll work out my topics, if you like, or if it's a chronological book, you know, I have spent, I mean, months and months on a particular area, just research. And
I think there needs to be a Charlie MacLean autobiography, right?
Oh,
if you guys want to see a Charlie MacLain autobiography, write it in the comments, give it a thumbs up.
No.
Right, that'd be an amazing book.
No way.
Are you kidding me?
No way.
I'd read that in a heartbeat.
So true.
It'd be brilliant.
Well, here's a question based on the title of your book. Is there any space in this market for another whiskey book? Because I mean, this is one of the most challenging things, that it's a very specific industry, and there are so many whiskey books which cover all the various different areas. We were talking earlier about Mike Billett's Peat and Whiskey. That's again very niche. So what stones have been left unturned?
That's a great question.
I tell you, blended Scotch whiskey.
Oh.
I've spent the last 3 years, Vicky, writing a book about blended Scotch with Hans Offringer, which is just with this week. My editor from Berlin, where I usually publish with, we're doing this ourselves, Hans and I, and she's come back with the comments on our text. So the book is almost ready to go. As I say, it took about. I mean, as you know, I mean, I'm very, very interested in blended Scotch whiskey. I love the taste of it, and most of my work is with single malt whiskey, but I love blended Scotch. The stories behind the brands, behind the and even the contemporary ones like Compass Box or Woven or Turntable or whatever, are very interesting.
Yeah, and absolutely, because you think about blends, right? It predated single malts.
Absolutely.
So you've got so many fascinating stories before that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It really is.
And that is, and we were chatting before this, that's book number 20 that you're going to do.
It's my 20th book. I think it's going to be the last one.
Well done. No, we've got the autobiography coming.
Oh, no way. But it's a serfrecht writing a book, and I'm impressed that you. I mean, I think like you, there's no such thing. Well, you cannot allow yourself to have author's block. You know, you've got to go at it.
But I can imagine that happening though, right? I mean, if you've got a deadline, which you must have had at some of your books, then it's like, right, I've got to get this done at this point.
Well, that's right, but that spurs you on.
Right. Okay.
But it's the rather idle. You haven't got the energy or whatever it is. There are other things going on, and so on, so on, so on.
Yeah.
Discipline.
It is discipline.
But it's things that inspire you as well, right? When you're writing, that's what I found. If I'd had a really good day, going around an amazing distillery, having a great experience with someone, then I'd be like in the mood to write that day. I think that's just me and the way I'm kind of wired.
What about drink and writing?
Oh yeah, I always did that.
Same here.
I mean, when you read my book, you'll see that every single episode, every single chapter was definitely influenced by whiskey.
Yeah, fueled. In the days I usually write better with especially if I'm working late with a dram in hand, and sometimes. I don't know if you've had this experience, but sometimes you can write something which, is when you come back to it the following morning, particularly if you're writing late at night, dram in hand, and you can read and you think, Christ, did I write that? That's astonishing. Of course.
See, I was the other way around. I would be like, that sounds absolutely rubbish.
No, you're absolutely right. But it can be either way. It can be either way, really inspired or,
But that's what I love about whiskey, right? For me, it's like, I always say to people, when I pour a dram and I'm reading a book or watching a movie, for example, I'll sit with that one dram for a long, long time, maybe like an hour or so. Nosing it, having a tiny little sip, getting to know it a little bit. And that's definitely what I did with this. It was like one or two drams while I was writing it, and that's what I love.
You can't be just swally and
It's not tequila we're talking about here. Yeah?
Certainly not. Gosh, well, no, and I'm not even going to promote this one.
What you should do is an amazing book.
I will say,
Let's get up here. There we go. This guy.
During COVID, Gavin Smith and I were commissioned to write this, or I was commissioned initially, to write a book called A History of Whiskey in 100 Objects. Now, this would be in 2020, something, or 2019, something like that, and so before COVID, and I did nothing about it, and I was traveling a huge amount at that time. In 2019, I was 23 times abroad in 17 countries. Well, you're no stranger to traveling, on behalf of
That's
brands.
Crazy though, even by my standards.
I mean, so I phoned the commissioner and said, I can't do this. Get Gavin to do it, Gavin Smith, because he's a very, very good writer, and he's got all the information he needs. And oh no, we've got to have you on the cover as well, and blah blah blah. And then and then they said, well, would you work with Gavin? I said, well, I'd be delighted to work with Gavin. And so Gavin and I, and then came COVID, and of course it worked out perfectly because we had, well, it was originally to be 100 objects, so we worked out the topics and and then just sort of randomly divided them up, and it gave us something to do. It was giving me, in my case, sort of something to do because you couldn't go out. You know, well, I did go out, but you could,
Caught that about.
but but you know, it gave us something to do, and and then of course by the time we'd finished, the guy that had commissioned it, well, he'd been rather let down by there had been a publisher who'd signed up for it, and but then they said, I'm afraid that we're not having this book because there were a whole backlog from COVID, etc. So that was us. Well, we just had to write it off. But then he did persevere, the commissioner, and and found a very, very reputable publisher who changed the title to The Story of Whisky, because History of Whisky and 100 Objects was no old hat. It was obviously borrowed by by Neil MacGregor, who from the British Museum, and but so it was a labour of love. I do love historical research, and I've got as you know, all these
unbelievable books,
whiskey books. So I don't really have to leave the house. I mean, I can do my research.
You've got a library right behind you, right? So
yeah.
Let me ask you this: one book you're most proud of. Which one would you pick?
Probably the one that really broke my back was Scotch Whisky: A Liquid History, and I think that was the one that.
That's the one we were chatting about. Yeah.
And that was published in, I think, '97. That was hard work, and that was 5 years.
I loved that book. And I remember we were chatting about this earlier. I had that book when we first met. You signed it for me. I stupidly lent it to Daz, who left it.
Oh no!
Right, he left it on the back window of his Passat. So the sun just has completely faded the front cover.
Oh God!
I'm like, shame.
Yeah.
Well, it makes
Daz, you're an idiot. You're never getting anything again. Honestly.
But it makes it unique. A unique.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you've signed the front cover.
But I have to say that I think the one that's given me most pleasure is this current, the one that's the blended one, the blended Scotch book, and that'll appear in. Later this year, so September, October.
Well, looking forward to reading it, fella.
Right.
Always a pleasure.
Congratulations.
Great.
To both of you.
Great.
Many